In the city, at the office, on the road, wherever he may be needed. Armed with a mower and a partially charged cell phone, one man aims to take on the world.
My name is Robert Chapman, and this is episode 2 of the newly revived WGDP, the world's greatest podcast. You know, high school and college, they were extremely formative years for all of us, be they way back in the mid-1900s, as the kids like to say, or for those of us who experienced those days at the turn of the century. High school for me was 1999 to 2003, and college followed the 4 years after that. And I went to Ole Miss, where I got to experience Eli Manning's last year during my freshman year, followed by 3 years of Coach O. I don't want to talk about how the football seasons went, but I can tell you that those were formative years nonetheless. One of the memories that I have, a vivid memory, like my gosh, it's a vivid memory, is moving from Clinton, Mississippi, up to Oxford, Mississippi for my freshman year of college. Literally, day one, I met future lifelong friends during move-in day. Again, like when I say it's extremely vivid memory, I'm telling you, I could even like draw a picture and tell you what it smelled like. Move-in days now aren't too terribly different than when they were, you know, a quarter of a century ago. Sheesh, we're old. Like, maybe I'm old. You're not old. Maybe I'm the only one that old. I will say I'm the only one that is old. It's just me. But they've turned into quite the production. I had a chance to talk with Webb, the Assistant Director of Marketing and Brand Strategy at Ole Miss, who happens to play the Ole Miss dad on Ole Miss's social media outlets. You know, this one.
Here? Okay. Let's go.
Webb is a dad in real life, and he's got some unique outlooks on growing up, looking back, and planning forward. So if we kind of look back at where I've been in my life, you know, I've made it no qualms that I'm a big Ole Miss person. I have 2 degrees from there. One of my degrees is in integrated marketing communications, and I'm excited that one of my professors from that time period has agreed to be on here. I've known Webb for a little bit of time, from my first go around at Ole Miss to when I got to have him as my professor in my IMC degree. And it's just fun to have you here, Webb. I appreciate you joining before the craziness happens up at Ole Miss with the move-in day. You been all right?
Yeah, it's been a great summer. Been busy, getting ready. You know, you rush to the finish line in May, and then you think you catch your breath over the summer, but you spend the whole summer getting ready for August. So, yeah, things are going well.
That's good. All right, let's jump right into these dad questions. We got 10 of them, and I want to see kind of where you are. The fun thing about this is that everybody tends to answer them differently. So let's talk about, you've got 2 kids, so you've done your time. What are or were your diaper skills like?
So I over prepared for Jack, my son, and I had this book. It was something like Dad's Survival Guide, and it was, you know, illustrations of where to hold the legs and all of these different things. And I studied how to change a diaper in a football stadium, you know, So I studied that thing like crazy. So I remember that first time in the hospital. It's that first night, Jack's in the room with me and Tiff, and he starts crying, and I'm up, and here we go. And I was like, all right, I got to change this diaper. At the moment, I didn't clock it, but I think it was one of the faster changes I've ever had. So, I would say I'm the top level of diaper changers.
That's good. I like that. I like that you're confident going into that. All right, grade yourself on your newborn days. What do you remember kind of about the teething and the feeding stages with everybody?
You know, I'm convinced that our humans are something about us doesn't we're not allowed to remember those newborn stages very well, or else we wouldn't have any more kids.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was my wife and I were a very good team in that I tend to function well with little sleep. So I was able to take those early shifts, and kind of deal with that. We had the your first kid, everybody's learning, right? It's like, and as a man, it's like, all right, he's crying. I want to fix this problem.
Right.
What can I do to fix this problem, and not only stop him from crying now, but prevent him from ever crying again.
Ever again. Yeah.
And yeah, so there was a lot of that going on in the early stages, and just kind of going back and forth. My dad gave me some advice one time. When that kid is crying in the middle of the night, he's clearly not going back to sleep. One of the things that makes it really hard on a parent is you keep the house really dark and you try to tiptoe around. He said, cut the lights on, put some music on, wake the house up, and just own the fact that you're not getting any sleep that night.
That's true. So that kind of rolls into the next one. How did you handle midnight wake ups? Did y'all have a tag team kind of thing, or like a plan?
Yes, it was different for both of our kids because they were very different in those early stages.
Yeah.
With Jack, once we got him up to the 6 month mark, he started sleeping through the night, so we were good there. But up until that point, it was very much like, I'll take the nights, and as soon as the sun peeks its head, I'll lay down, and Tiff would tag in. With Ella, our daughter, I don't remember many nights where she was sleeping for longer than an hour at a time. And that we shifted, we did shifts. I would go till, 2 a.m. and then she'd come out until 6 a.m. and then I would tag back in. And we did that until she started sleeping through the night.
Yeah. It's weird how you've got, they always talk about kids are so very different, but in all aspects are very different. So just because it worked one way doesn't mean it worked all the way. Some people are lucky. Like the last episode I interviewed Kevin Griffin, and he said that all three of his boys, their routine worked. And I was like, wow, it must be nice. 3 for 3. It wasn't that way in my world. What about your morning routine? What did your morning routines look like?
Yeah, I mean, the morning routine is again, very different. And I think that was one of the things that was almost frustrating. It's like we had this system with our first that worked. All right. So obviously we're going to go right back to that, and it didn't work at all. So you have to go back to the drawing board. So, for the most part, if you notice, I don't have to spend a lot of time getting myself ready. I don't have to wash my hair or do anything like that. I'm up. I'm trying to beat the children from them waking up. So I get up, quick shower, throw clothes on. That way I am on kid duty so that Tiffany can wake up. She can take her shower and spend her time getting ready. And as soon as she comes out of the room and she's ready, I'm out the door. Yeah. I've usually got one kid with me to take to school, and Tiff takes the other, or vice versa. It's that's how it always goes, though. I'm the first one up. I get myself ready. That takes about 6 minutes, and then I sit in the chair in the living room and wait for the for everybody else.
Is it the same now because Jack is older, so him not being a youngster, is it the same kind of routine now? Or are you still kind of first up and at 'em?
I'm settled into it. I mean, there are mornings where I'm up at 4. And if I sleep in, sometimes I'll go till 7 on the weekends if it all be. But in those mornings where, like you said, Jack's 13 years old, so he's kind of taking care of himself. My daughter is 4. She's still got to have some coaxing along, but you've come to appreciate those mornings kind of in the darkness before the sun comes up, and drinking your coffee, doing some reading and things like that. But yeah, I think I'm going to be an early riser, I guess, for the rest of my life.
Yeah, they do that to you. I'm in the same boat. What about bedtime routine? So think about, let's throw it a kind of doubled up like we did with that other one. When they were little, what did you do with the bedtime routine? And then kind of what is bedtime now?
Yeah. So with our first, Jack was your typical, we got in the recliner, he took a bottle, and we rocked until those eyes got heavy, take him in there and lay him down in the crib, and he was good to go. Ella, it was rock into her room. we had a twin bed in there with her crib. So you'd lay down in the twin bed with her until she had to be out. She had to be in the deepest level of sleep before you even attempted the put down. And that sometimes would take forever. And if any misstep in that process, and you're going back to the recliner and starting over again. As they got a little older, and Jack's imagination started to come, he started recognizing, hey, you're leaving me alone in here. There was the rocking chair, put him in the bed, lay down on the floor beside the crib, so he knew you were in there, and then you kind of army crawl out of there after he's gone to sleep. Eventually, Ella, we got to cut out that bed part and was able to go right to the crib with her. So
yeah, there's a lot of things, and we'll get into this later on when we talk about the parents dropping kids off at college, which is what's coming on. But my wife and I, we have a lot of moments where we tell ourselves, this is for now, not forever. We've told ourselves that because both my parents, her parents, friends, all well-meaning, have said, oh, you're going to miss it when it's gone. You're going to miss it when it's gone. But when it's 3:30 in the morning and you've had an hour and a half sleep, you're really not missing it at the moment. So in the good and the bad, we always tell ourselves, this is for now, not forever. And once a routine finally gets established, that was kind of, especially with the little ones, we knew routine's about to change. But yeah, going in from that moment when imaginations and scary things in the closet can kind of be there. What kind of do you remember back very fondly? What are some of your fondest memories of early dadhood?
Yeah, I think those moments in between the crying and the lack of sleep, when the you're just holding the kid in the chair and you're rocking and there's music on, or you're watching TV and they are content, or they stare at you and they're just like marveling at you, this person that's taking care of them. That always kind of took me away. And I will say that, with Jack, I didn't take that in as much. Because he was our first, and then after Jack, we have a 9-year age gap between our kids because we had so much trouble getting pregnant with Jack that we didn't think it was in the cards anymore. And then Ella popped up out of nowhere, so we knew with Ella, this is it. So I really remember reflecting and holding her, even in some of her times she was upset, and thinking, I'm going to miss this. There's going to come a time when I long for her crying and in this rocking chair with me and not being able to go to sleep. And I had a preacher tell me once during that moment, during those first 3 months, where he looked at me and he was like, you could tell I hadn't slept at all. And he said, how's Ella doing? And I said, well, she'd be doing a lot better. We'd all be doing a lot better if she would go to sleep some. And he said, well, at least you know where she is. And I think about that often. There will come a time where you'll be at home at night with your spouse, and you won't have a clue with certainty where your children are. And we're not there yet. I'm dreading that day. But thinking about those things and trying to be in the moment was I was much more intentional about it with Ella, and just she looks at you like you're the king of the world, and you kind of feel charged to become that for her. So even when she's 1 year old, you feel that way. So I hope that doesn't go away. It hasn't yet.
Yeah, I've got, my daughter's 15. We've got 3 years left. And I hope she goes to Ole Miss, right? I've told her that's the only option, but we'll see. But it's that idea of, I still remember the little Charlotte. Like, even one of the promos that I did on social media for this very revival podcast was her as a 6-year-old, and listening to it, I had to walk around for a little bit. I couldn't handle that because we just went and got eyebrows done yesterday. I didn't, little 6-year-olds don't get eyebrows done, but when we're 15, right. I guess we do that. So that's some of the best memories of being a dad. What are some of the toughest memories that you remember kind of from dadhood, from that early part?
Yeah, you said it earlier, those nights of no sleep, you tend to, when you stack those, your sanity messes, it's tinkered with, and your ability to respond the way you should respond to things takes a hit. So I remember, especially with Jack early on, just getting frustrated with a 3-month-old crying. I mean, when you zoom out, you're like, of course he's crying. It's a 3-month-old, but being in that moment, just being like, God, please just be quiet. that's disappointing. I know it's something that a lot of people experience, but in that moment or immediately after that moment, I'm like, what am I doing? Why would I do that? And I still think about that. And again, I learned from that. And not to say that I always kept my cool in those nights with Ella early on, but yeah, I look back on that and think, man, I kind of failed in that moment. And I think you tend to fail a lot more in those early stages, especially with that first kid, when you have an idea of what it's going to be like, but there's no preparing you for it, and how you respond to things, and knowing that they're watching every little step you take. Anytime there was just this kind of, it's not their fault, but I'm taking it out because I'm so frustrated or so tired. Yeah, those were moments I definitely think that were the toughest.
I think you're part of a fraternity of people who have all been in that boat, to where you realize it. We tell our kids all the time, you're not allowed to treat other people poorly just because you're tired, hungry, whatever. Right. And it's like, well, I've done that in the past. It's like, I know, but I'm not allowed to do that too. So it kind of lets you all realize we always say, the great theologian Zac Efron, we're all in this together. So, it kind of helps all that kind of stuff. If you're talking about dads today, especially right there, where you're talking about something that you were struggling with, that you kind of look back in the past and kind of beat yourself up a bit. What do you think is one of the biggest challenges that are that dads face today?
Yeah, for me, that's a simple answer. It's being present, and I don't just mean physically. I think I work in a space where I'm always online, and I don't mean like internet. I mean, I'm always on. My job at Ole Miss in marketing communications. At any moment, something from a PR standpoint could happen. You got to be ready to go. We have social media posts scheduled that are going out at all times of the day, and you're checking in on that. I also serve as the board chair at Regent School of Oxford here in Oxford, which is my son's school. So there's always things going on with that. So it's easy to come in, and while I'm not at work or I'm not at that school, I'm reading emails, I'm checking in on stuff, and I'm physically at the house, but I'm not there. And I think that is very common. I think because of technology, especially, we tend to, constantly have our mind half in, half out. And being present is difficult. I actually was reading a book a while back by John MacArthur, and he was talking about, when did the man leave the home? For forever in the early stages of America, that the man was the leader of the house. He drove his family to church. He was leading Bible studies at night and things like that. And then the Industrial Revolution came along, and the man went to work, and the man was gone. And he was working for days at a time, hours and hours at a time. And when he was home, he was resting. I don't think we fully brought that back home yet. I think that we still struggle to be present, and our kids need us there, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, 100% all in, as much as we can possibly be. So trying to be present is, I think, the greatest challenge we face.
Yeah, I accidentally left my phone. We were going to church, and I left my phone at home, and I knew that I had 3.5 hours without my phone, and it was frightening. And then after about 3 minutes of that, it was the most freeing thing in the world, because I was just there. So yeah, I agree. Being present is a huge one. Through the last rendition of this podcast, and then even kind of just slowly getting back into it right now, I always joke about the absentee father, that even when you're present, sometimes you're somewhere else. And I think we all suffer from that. And again, that's something else that we can beat ourselves up over, that instead we're kind of there all together, and the fact that we're challenging ourselves with this. What do you feel, kind of in that same realm? There's something that dads sometimes feel, whether they're coaches, whether they're, fathers, whether they're mentors or whatever, that you want to pass along or teach your children, players, people you come in contact with. What are some of the things that you feel not only you want to pass along, but that are your responsibility to pass along?
The simple thing there, you got to teach your kids how to whistle. That is a dad job. You know what I mean? Nobody else is doing it. You got to teach your kids how to whistle. That's a simple answer to that. For me, one thing my father was my coach in high school, and I'm actually coaching my son at Regents in football this year. Coached him in baseball and stuff. And one of the things that my dad instilled in me, my father was a player's coach, because he cared so deeply for his team. they wanted to respect him. They didn't want to disappoint him, not out of fear, but out of love. And trying to raise your kid in that same way, kindness. And then two things: no matter what you're doing, work hard and have fun. If one of those goes away, if you're just having fun, you got a problem. If you're just working hard and it's miserable, you got a problem. So work hard and have fun no matter what you're doing.
I like that. Finally, this last question: how do you handle all the other stuff? We talked about being present, but we also, you gotta apply your own mask before you apply somebody else's mask. How do you take care of the priorities like date night or workouts or guys night or anything, especially when you're in Oxford, when there's a lot of sports going on, you're a sports guy, how do you handle time for yourself and then manage that as time with your family?
Yeah. I think, as far as time for myself, those early mornings have kind of become that for me. And honestly, Jack has hit an age where we share a lot of similar hobbies. So we're getting to hang out a lot. And then honestly, the husband part of it, you would think being a good husband and being a father, being good at one should make you better at the other. If I'm a good father, I'm being a good husband. If I'm being a good husband and setting that example for my son and for my daughter of what this should look like. But yeah, Tiffany and I have an amazing, amazing partnership when it comes to running our home and leading our children. And it's amazing how seeing your spouse parent in such a loving and kind way makes you fall in love with them all over again. So we do things ourselves a lot. Tiffany and I we'll go out to eat, or we've taken trips together and stuff. But the things that feel the closest are when we're getting to spend time with our kids, and we prefer that over anything else.
So you manage a lot of, let's see, I wrote it down because I was like, I'm going to say it wrong. Technically, you are the assistant director of marketing and brand strategy at Ole Miss. You teach some classes. Again, you taught my class. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I got to use a lot of what I learned in that class. I get to use professionally, and then also right here doing podcast stuff. But one of the glorious things that I've loved that you have just taken the banner and run with is you are the Ole Miss dad on the social media videos that's distributed by the university. How did that idea come up?
So it's not as exciting as it sounds. I have a wonderful team of marketing specialists and interns and graduate assistants, all ranging from the age of 25 down. And you get a knock at the office door. Hey, Webb, we have something we want to try. And, you're skeptical. They've got this script, and sometimes you got to trust your team. So we tried it out a few years ago, and it really, really did well. So the next thing you know, they're like, hey, we want to try something else. We want to try something else. And we just keep doing it. And it's been a lot of fun. And I laugh because I always reference my student in that is Ella Jane, who is my 4-year-old daughter. Eventually she will be that college freshman. But right now she's not there. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun, and we found ways to use it that have been really helpful. People are relating to it. We're looking at doing actually our next segment, sneak peek, is we're doing like some how-tos with Ole Miss Dad. I'm going to go into the laundromat on campus and show you how to do your laundry in a comical way, how to change a flat tire, and things like that. So it's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's a lot of fun, but I will tell you, the team, they hand me exactly what to say and how to say it. So it's not as much on me as it is on them.
So move-in day is coming up, and you've got there's got to be some notable memories that have happened or stories from previous move-in days. I will say, my move-in day when I moved into Ole Miss was 2003. That was forever and a half ago. It was the early 21st century. And looking at the videos and the pictures that you see from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Mississippi Christian, Southern Miss, Jackson State, all over, you've got all these volunteers that are out there, helping everybody move. 2003, it was, I carried my stuff from my car. I went in, I came back and got my stuff. My parents, we were just all in tow together. What are some of the most notable memories and stories that you could probably think of off the top of your head about previous move-in days?
Yeah, so I moved in at Ole Miss in '02, the year before you. And what stood out about that one was, like you said, you're taking trip after trip to the car and back, to the car and back. Well, I was on the 10th floor of Stockard,
Oh,
um,
I was on the
and it
second
took
floor,
20
so I can
minutes to
only
get an
imagine.
elevator. Yeah, it took 20 minutes to get an elevator. So you're sitting there with a box waiting, and then you get on there. It stops on every floor on the way up. And it was just miserable. But no, it's a well-oiled machine now. They've got cars in line, and the car pulls up. People attack the car, get everything out of it, and you move on to the next car. It's really cool. I love being involved and just being around and watching move in, because you do see those things. You see, while they're working, they're getting things hung up, and they're even getting frustrated with each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it is. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
experience this very soon, Robert. Because you're not hanging the curtains correctly, and you've already made 14 trips to the car, and you're getting hammered by your daughter and your wife because you're not doing it right. So, and all you're really thinking about is, the sooner we get finished with this, the sooner we can go to Ajax and get something to eat and move on. But as those days start to wind down, and you see even the kids start to realize they're about to say bye to their parents, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a real goodbye. It's not see you in a couple of days. It's okay. The independence that hits you as a student, as those parents drive away, some may think, well, that's really cool, but there's a bittersweetness to it, right? And it's both ways. You see those parents drive off with tears in their eyes. Some are trying to be strong and hold it together until they get out of sight. Some break down in the parking lot, but it's the same every year. That has not changed, and it's kind of cool to witness from the outside looking in, and also having the confidence to know, and wishing you could kind of tell those parents, hey, she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
This place is going to take care of her. And they learn that the longer they stay here.
Yeah, I'm 3 years away from my daughter moving up, somewhere. I'd like for it to be Ole Miss. I'd love to share those memories. We did come up there this summer, and I kind of walked her around Oxford and the campus without it being game day and all that. And she got back and she said, "Dad, I think your propaganda is working." I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about, propaganda. I was just going to show you a really good time." But let's say, 3 years from now, or somebody who's about to move up there in just a few days, what kind of advice would you give to mom and dad for move-in day, whether it's their son moving up there or their daughter moving up there?
Yeah. I think it's, depending on where you're moving from, put everything you can in the car, in the truck. And if you don't need it all, take it home. Overpack. It doesn't mean you have to leave everything. Plan. You're going to be given a time to be on campus, and this isn't not unique to Ole Miss. You're going to be given a time to be on campus. Stick to that, because if you try to come early, there's a whole load of people that are already there, and you're not going to be able to do anything but sit in your car, and that's pretty frustrating. So come at your time, and accept help. That's the big thing. There are going to be tons of volunteers saying, "Hey, you wouldn't have to carry a thing if you play your cards right. You don't have to pick up anything." Let those people help you, and try to be in the moment. Just, hey, recognize the fact that you are about to leave that child. Enjoy your time. Don't get frustrated with each other. Try to catch an early dinner on the square. Make it a memory, and not something that you need to take Tylenol for because your blood pressure is spiked or something by the end of the day. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. And as soon as you leave, have it marked in your calendar when you're coming back. Because one great thing I can say that is unique, and I'll die on this hill, is this is a place that you're going to want to come visit as much as possible. That's one thing great about Oxford, is you get to see your kids a lot under the guise of you're coming to hang out, because Oxford's cool, right?
Yeah, that's right. And advice: show up the night before so you can take a nap and then wake up and go eat a big bad breakfast. That's one of our favorite things to do, and it probably will be one of our favorite things to do down the road if and when my daughter goes there in 3 years.
But Robert, you were a student here. You know this. Buckle up, parents, because when you come to take your kid to Big Bag Breakfast or somewhere else, they're going to have their friends with them. These kids are, hey, my parents are in town. Who wants lunch?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been a part of. I've been on the other side of that for sure. Like, hey, whose parents in town? We need to go get some dinner.
Shout
So,
out to the Pearl Street Pasta. May it rest in peace. We used
oh,
to hit up Pearl Street all the time, and other people paying for it.
that's right.
So you've got a great family. You've got two wonderful kids. One special thing that I love but my son and I have kind of followed along watching is you've got Oxford Wax, Webb and Jack, on Instagram. That it's an account where you open up baseball cards and you kind of look at the players. We were kind of going back through it the other night, looking at it, and it reminded me of when we were opening up some football cards with my son, and we got there, and he was like, Warren Sapp, and he just put it to the side. I was like, pick that one up, my friend. Pick up Warren Sapp. That's one you keep. The same one like we with a Tony Gwynn or anything. Like if that's one, that's a name you remember. Tell me a little bit about how that came about, and then how you decided that was something that you two should share with the masses on Instagram.
It's kind of crazy. My father and I were very close. Like I said, he was my football coach. He was my best friend. He passed away in 2017. Dad got me into collecting baseball cards when I was a kid. And when he passed away, you're clinging to something to make you feel close to them. And Jack was young at the time, but he died in a November. And for Christmas that year, I got Jack some baseball cards. Because I wanted to, Dad loved baseball cards. He got me cards. I wanted to get Jack cards. I wanted to sit him down and show him how to handle the cards and how you got to be careful on the corners and things like that. Because I remember being in a parking lot in Cleveland, Mississippi in 1989 as a 5-year-old kid, opening my first pack of baseball cards and pulling this Don Mattingly, Don Russ Diamond King card, and him immediately becoming my favorite player. And I wanted Jack to kind of experience that joy. And so he fell right into it. He loved it. And one of the things, and this is kind of crazy with kids today, because Ella does it too, is they love to watch YouTube videos of people opening toys and things like that. So Jack got it in his head, let's make a YouTube video opening some cards. And this is when he's like 6, 7 years old. So that kind of led to, and at the time, I didn't realize how easy it was to go on eBay and buy an entire box of unopened cards that are 35 years old. So we started doing that, and it was just really, really fun to spend that time with him. Thinking about my dad, telling Jack what the statistics on the back of the card meant, pulling a Dennis oil can boy card and being like, hey, he's from Vicksburg, Mississippi, Jack. Right. We drive through there, and seeing things like that. And it just kind of grew. And after we were collecting for a couple of years, my father's birthday is on June 14th. We kind of were talking through that, and we honor my father's birthday by having our very own baseball card day. So we spend some time. I buy up a lot of old baseball cards, and then on June 14th, we open those cards together and talk about the cards, talk about baseball, talk about my dad, talk about the Yankees. And it just kind of became something we do now. Ella goes to sleep. Tiffany's watching some kind of murder documentary, and Jack and I sit down and we open baseball cards. And it's just been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. You want a little side of a Don Mattingly story? My sophomore year up at Ole Miss, I had a friend of mine who met a girl, like everybody does. Everybody thinks everybody's cute. Started to get to know this girl. Her name was Erin. And she told me her name was Erin Mattingly. And I said, oh, like Don Mattingly. And she goes, that's my uncle. I said, yeah, absolutely. Sure it is. Whatever.
Incredible.
all the way through the thing. So I have 2 Don Mattingly cards. I bring them home. I give them to Erin. And I say, okay, here's an envelope. If you see Don like you're going to over the summer, because I still didn't believe that was her uncle.
Yeah.
Get him to sign those if you don't mind, and just put them in that envelope and mail them back. And I thought, I will never see those cards again. Middle of July, I get an envelope with my handwriting on it, and it's 2 signed Don Mattingly cards. And Erin Mattingly, who is a student at Ole Miss, is Don Mattingly's niece. Don and his brother came to the Grove during that time and got to walk around, so it was really cool. You talk about little bitty connections that can be made in the Grove right there.
Look, so I met Erin at Ole Miss.
Yep.
And very similar, though, I went to 6 different high schools in Mississippi. I've lived all over the place. So my first question anytime I meet anyone is, where are you from?
Uh-huh.
So the Mattingly buzzer was already going a little bit. And I was like, so Aaron, where are you from? Indiana. And I go, okay. Who's your family? She goes, well, and she talked about, I think, Preston, who is Don's son. And she said that name, and I was like, you're Don Mattingly's niece. And she's like, yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And I was just, whoa, that's incredible. So that's wild, man. And as big a fan as I am, never thought I should try to get some autographs. I should try to get something out of this. Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm with you. My brother's a huge Yankees fan, so I gave him one of the cards and I kept the other. And I always joke because, it's kind of how college football is. We get into a deeper conversation. College football now, everybody's going all over the place. It's kind of how Major League Baseball happened in the, after the 90s and all. But, I tell him that I'm a Yankees fan through him. So he was excited to get him a Don Mattingly signed baseball card. And so was I, because I remembered when Don Mattingly was all the Yankees had. And there was no dynasty. It was like him. And then, oh my gosh. Oh, brain fart. It was the only player that was with the Braves in the late 80s. I can't believe I can't remember his name. I have his baseball card and his jersey. 80s. Played for the Rockies in the 90s after they traded him. Oh, well, I'll look it up. I'll put it. Here we go. Right here is where I'll put the name. It's going to be right there.
Okay, good.
That's who it was. There we go. We're good to go. Anyway. All right. Well, yeah. Well, Webb, I can't thank you enough for letting me steal some time from you. I hope that move-in day ends up being the absolute best move-in day ever. And I hope to see you down the road at minimum 3 years when we move my daughter up there, fingers crossed. But yes. Yeah, and also, again, I do want to thank you for the effort that you and the university did to help move my career and knowledge along with the integrated marketing communications. If anybody wants to major in that, I highly encourage you to do so. It is quite valuable.
Yeah. Robert, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Talk to you later. Truly and honestly, I say this all the time, but I mean it. I can't thank Webb enough for his time and willingness to revisit this podcast with me and to share some memories and talk about a few things, especially Ole Miss and preparing for my daughter to go there. She doesn't have an option, all that kind of stuff. To those parents moving their own kids into college or shipping your kids off to boot camp or helping them pursue whatever dream that they have, just know that you're not alone. Like we said earlier, quoting the great theologian Zac Efron, we're all in this together. Here is to a great semester of whatever that semester looks like for you. I hope we all learn and grow just a little bit. I think we could all use some growth. That would be a good thing. If there's a dad out there that needs to be interviewed on this here podcast, let me know. Send me an email at therobertchapman@gmail.com or DM me on the social media outlets. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at WGD Pod, the world's greatest dad pod, WGD Pod, Facebook and Instagram. Thank you for visiting. We will be back right here with more on WGDP, the world's greatest dad podcast. Hotty toddy, y'all.